All right, y'all. So happy Tuesday. It is August 25th, 2026, and we're going to go over our trade review for the day. And today I traded some gold, so we had a little gold fly today. And with this trade, I really was targeting. Let's go on daily because everything is off the daily time frame. I do have these levels. I do want to see this swing high get hit. But before we do that, we formed this fair value gap at the close of yesterday's candle. So this was a fair value gap that was formed. And I wanted to see price reach into that fair value gap. Another thing I had noted, silver formed also formed a fair value gap, but this fair value gap was formed on Friday. So I outlined both of them and I wanted to make note of both of these fair value gaps, and I included the volume imbalance for both of them instead of just the wick. So here, end to end, but I include the volume imbalances also. So like I said, for one, they're like sister pairs. So one pair might hit, let's say one pair might hit a discounted range, but the other pair barely just misses it, and the pair that hit the discounted range takes off, and then the sister pair follows with it. So they move in tandem. It's not always like this, but that's something to always be mindful of. So same thing with SMT divergence when people trade NQ and ES. Same thing, same concept really, but just apply to these asset classes. So now I have my new day opening gap outlined, and I have this set too. So settlement price, so I see settlement price. So this when price closed at 415. So you could switch it off and you see like it's not gonna be the same. So I use settlement price for my gaps and my levels also. So now going into the day, Asian session we traded higher. We took out previous day's high. We had these relative equal highs, and we took that out during Asian session. So we ran up and we started to go short then. So I feel like a good entry was here during Asian session. If all you wanted was to catch back to this new day opening gap, that would have been a really nice setup. Without having to worry about if we trade into the daily fair value gap. So we have this 5 minute gap, and this became an inversion, and we started trading below it. Let's see on the 1 minute because I know I was watching this and I seen this unfolding in real time. That's why sometimes you really got to go to the lower time frames because lower time frames will offer you entries that are missed on a higher time frame. And sometimes, you'll get your entries on a higher time frame. But, 1 in 5 minutes aren't really a high time frame. So yeah, we got to close below, perfect. We end up trading below. And you can see we never really tested this 5 minute inversion after. So if you were waiting for this 5 minute inversion, you probably would have missed it. But that's fine. It really doesn't matter. So we did start trading out. So now we're trading lower during Asian session. And so we had this run. So now we had this run. So you can expect consolidation for London, and you see when we had a lot of consolidation. So we made this low. This was our low. This was our high. We had our dealing range. I had my entry early this at the low of the new day opening gap. And then we had some drawdown. I really didn't like the entry. I felt like we could have potentially traded back into this 50% of Asia's range. But you see, we end up getting that later on in the day. But that's also something I would be mindful of. So I just waited until my regular trading hours, so 7 o'clock. So 7 o'clock, that's when we get active. and you can see 7 o'clock. So London start at 3:30 officially. That's when London starts. So London, all of London's range is here. So we have this high. This is all of London's range. That's all. Everything else is pre-market. So from 1 to 2, that's pre-market. Or you could say from 12 to 12 to 2. That's pre-market, and then we have our 3:30. That's loading up into London session. So this is all of London sessions run. So 7 a.m. New York pre-market. We've been consolidating for a while now, and you can see we took out London's high. Once we took out London's high, that was a good confirmation for me. I wanted to sell short at this 5 minute fair value gap. And this 5 minute fair value gap was also in tandem anchored to the new day opening gap. So I like using, so when you're using a lower time frame PD arrays, you want them, not kind of, you want them to be anchored next to a higher time frame PD array, like daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, the lowest. But that's really what you want. You want them anchored to a higher time frame PD array. So we would have price trade above it, but no bodies close above. So that was a good indicator that we're going to continue lower after London's we swept London's high, and we're staying below the midpoint of this gap. So now all I'm anticipating is the run down here to take out the low that was made during London session. And yes, I know you guys noticed I didn't use C today. I didn't even use that 12 a.m. open. So you could have been mindful of that too. That could have offered me another entry. So when selling short at 9:10, that could have offered me another entry. That's just me speaking to myself, thoughts to myself on how I would have traded this one move. So you have one idea, and there's multiple entry points for that one idea. So like I mentioned, I was mindful of this 50%. We ended up tagging it later on in the day, but what I seen after 7 swept Asians London's high, created this formed this fair value gap, and that gave me the confirmation that I needed for shorts going lower. I could have tried to target this daily fair value gap, but the reason why I didn't do that, like I mentioned, we're already trading in that for silver. So it's permissible for us to just start running and do whatever. So I didn't want to be too greedy and try to anticipate for this to reach a midpoint because it does not have to do that. You gotta understand. The market does not have to do exactly what you want to do. Sometimes it does, and you feel like the man, you feel like you know everything, but it does not have to do that. And it's really important to be mindful of that. So that was my trade on gold. I'll show the execution on that. And then we'll move on. I did take one trade on NQ, but that was it. So like I mentioned, I had got out that trade, and then this one right here, this 5 minute fair value gap. You see, we had this one little, one more sweep back into this new day opening gap. Could have added another entry here, but we're respecting it and the fall off. And this was true daily open at 12. So, and you see my entry. So we had this 12, and I had liked it because we opened below the new day opening gap. So any manipulation would be on the upside. That's where all the manipulation would be. So now let's go on to NQ real quick. I did take a trade on NQ. So I took one long position. So I missed this run higher. I would have liked to cut this run. I had this outlined during London Asian session. I didn't take this entry. I believe I did, and I think I was stopped out. this entry. I think I took an entry at the midpoint of this new day opening gap. But you see, from a London session, Asian session, excuse me, made this run up and we didn't look back. So we tapped into the new day opening gap and we didn't reach previous day's high. And then we started to fall off. So going in, we had this run, so you could expect consolidation pre-market. You don't need, you shouldn't expect a crazy run after we already had this run from basically from Asian session, and then London session kept trending also. So no point of expecting a crazy trend going higher, or you could, but you would have to wait until market open. So it'll be choppy pre-market. So I did take an entry around, I believe, the bottom of this gap, and I ended up exiting. I didn't like the trade because I really wanted to target this high, and you can see this high didn't get hit, and I just told myself, just instincts. I was just telling myself I don't really like the trade going higher, and you can see we kept trading lower, and I am mindful. Back to the daily. Let's go back to the daily. So this is how we looking at on the daily. So I am mindful of this fair value gap. Remember, I do want to see price trade into discount, honestly, and ES hasn't done it either. So we're inside of this fair value gap here to be mindful, but we're still trading below the new week opening gap, and I feel like that is really important as of now. So I do think we might make that run lower, make our low of the week for tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see. All to be seen on the next episode of the market. But let's look at executions. I did take execution during Asian session. Yeah, so this is the execution right here. And I ended up getting stopped out. And then as you can see, we had this run higher. And best entry probably, like I said, you want your lower time frame PD arrays to line up with your higher time frame PD arrays. So you got this new day opening gap, 15-minute fair value gap, lined up right below it. Take off. 12 a.m. open, but we did get that trade back to the true day open after 9:30. So if you wanted to trade this consolidation range, so from this high to this low, you could have. So entry would have been here. Once you see we failed to stay above this new week opening gap. So you see how powerful these weekly levels are, how we trade off of them. And then 950 also gave a nice run after we swept the high, pre-market high. And we're keeping all these highs intact too. So that could be something for later on in the week or coming up. But we don't need to over predict. We just got to think about what's happening right now. So those were the trades I took, but this was a nice short run to true day open. So trading back to that true day open at 12 a.m. That's such a clutch play. It's so clutch. You really just have to wait and be patient and allow the market to give that to you. Sometimes it does not give it to you. Sometimes, depending on the day, it does. It will not give it to you, and the market will keep running. But that's not what's going on here. So you seen that play worked out yesterday, and then again today. So that's 2 days in a row trading back to true day open. Like I said, it won't happen every day, but you just gotta be mindful for when it is happening and capitalize on when it is happening. Day traders does not mean we gotta trade every day. So that will be all for this review. And until next time, love.